Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm gonna show you some of the new capabilities and enhancements we built into SmartGit 24.1. It's a live demo, it's not pre-recorded, so things might go wrong, we will see, but we hope not, of course. For the housekeeping part of this web demonstration webinar, the webinar will be recorded and we will share the recording on our YouTube channel in a few days. Please use the Q&A module to ask questions and share comments. We will follow up on these questions and comments after the meeting. Maybe some fit into the talk, but most likely we will answer them after the webinar. And we will send out the slides and the link to the recording to all participants in the next days. My name is Daniel Siegel, and I will be your host today, and I will show you what we have developed in the last year or so. What is very important for us at Syntevo, we can only make great products for our users if we hear your feedback. We have two prominent channels to give us feedback. One is the smartgit.userecho.com, which is for new ideas, for new features that we might build. So other users can see your feedback as well, and we can have a discussion on them. If you have issues or other things that are more in the shortcomings or more private communication, feel free to reach out to us at smartgit@syntevo.com. The whole topic, the headline of our development project for SmartGit 24.1 was to make Git more attainable, to make it easier for people to use Git, to make it easier for new people to join and collaborate with Git. So attainability was a key goal, key development goal for all of the stuff we built into this new version. What have we done? I know there's a lot of points on this slide, but I will quickly walk you through them. We reorganized the setup wizard. We hope it became more logically the steps you have to complete before you start working with SmartGit. We did a lot in the department to improve cloning of repositories. Most of our users work with hosting providers like GitLab, GitHub, Azure DevOps, and whatnot. We did a lot to improve the cloning experience for those hosting providers. We have reconsidered the options that you have during cloning to make it even smarter for you to clone new repositories on your machines. And we have a very cool new capability because the hosting providers are typically authenticated via tokens. SmartGit now can serve as a credential helper for your repo. So even if you use a different Git client, which we hope you don't for some stuff, still SmartGit can do the authentication being set up as a credential helper should you want to do so. On the other hand, we have done some enhancements for those guys that work with submodules and also for people using forks. We have a new capability to add an upstream remote later on in the process. We have a GitHub issues integration that is pretty similar to our integration for Jira. So you now can pick GitHub issues for your commit messages. And we've done lots of small, nice little things for file and log management. For example, we have new capability for those scenarios where only the casing of a file name is changed. We have a new rollback option for those scenarios where rebase or cherry pick is probably not your best option. And we have a new capability where you can filter the log just on entries for a specific source code folder in your repository. Yeah, that's roughly the highlights. All of our highlights are also on our webpage with pictures. And I probably forgot one important step here. We also heavily invested in revamping our documentation. So doc.syntevo.com also improved a lot, and it should be a lot easier for you to find information on SmartGit in the documentation now. So that's it for slides. I told you there won't be too many today. We switch over to a fresh machine. It's a really fresh machine. And the first thing I want to show you is doc.syntevo.com. Sorry. So you can clearly see this is not recorded. The SmartGit, the manual for 24.1 was completely reworked, and it's now organized more clearly, and it should be a lot easier to find what you're looking for when it comes to our documentation. One really nice improvement, which is typically a bit behind the scenes, but nevertheless important if you start to use SmartGit. So on this machine, I installed SmartGit before the show, but I have never run it. So I now start SmartGit, and it will see how it greets me. The first screen we have now is the decision which style of SmartGit I prefer. For me, it's clearly standard, but there is also other people that prefer log graph or working tree. We will start with the standard window now, as it is our approach to make Git really more attainable. So it's a bit simplified, and we try to make it even better for newcomers and so on. And as you said, recommended for new users. The typical merge Meister guys probably will go with log graph, but in my case, it's obviously the standard workflow standard window that I'm gonna use. The next is I have to specify my name. And I can type in my email address. And next step is licensing. I have to register an existing license. As always with SmartGit, you can pick a file. For customers with more than 100 licenses, we also have the option to run an on-premise license server, where you simply provide your URL, and you can see the license was obtained, and I'm basically done, and SmartGit starts for the first time. If you want to see how the license server looks from an administrative perspective, I prepared that as well. And here now for our larger customers, you can have oversight which users are using SmartGit and on which operating systems. In my case, there is one license checked out from Windows and one is checked out from Linux. And this is all in one place. Can be handy if you want to keep oversight of your license usage in your organization. So the next thing we already mentioned is the cloning. Lots of effort went into the cloning. And what you can see here now is that we have the hosting providers not hidden behind a button like in the previous version, but it's now very prominent. And I can choose GitHub and click on configure. I will not use a master password because I only use OAuth authentication. And the only thing I need to do is I click on generate token and I choose my GitHub user, and the authorization is done. And from here on, I can use a list of repos in GitHub to do my cloning. And we can, and I can filter, and we choose the using submodules because we will need it for another example later on. And here is now this question. Do I want to use SmartGit as the credential helper? In most scenarios, I would say absolutely yes. If you have some custom authentications, maybe you're better off using a different credential helper. In my case, I choose SmartGit as a credential helper. What does it mean? Should I now want to do a push or a pull from, for example, Bash? Still, SmartGit will be used as the credential helper and provide the authentication required for GitHub in my case. So yes, we will do SmartGit as a credential helper. It's super helpful if you are into this OAuth authentication world, because I'm checking out now a repo with submodules. Obviously, I want to include submodules, and also very interesting, the administrator of your repo can define the main branch. In my case, it's GitHub, so the main branch is main, but it could be also a different one. And for the local directories, I think it's really cool that we have now a much better way of supporting it. For example, I check this out into the submodule below Git project, and it's a very simple way to get your cloning done. And now I can click on finish, and my repo will be cloned to my computer, including the submodules. What I really like, but it's a bit more hidden, I use now my company GitHub, but I can also add my private GitHub to the same cloning dialog. I can click on preferences, and this is something that was already in place in 23.1 and older versions of SmartGit. Hosting providers. So you can see here, this is where information is hidden. The first thing I can do, I can come here and say edit and call this work. And we can now add a second GitHub hosting provider. And we will click on generate token again, and we will choose my private GitHub account and go back to SmartGit, add. And we can again come here and call this home. And now, should I want to, okay, and I click OK. And if I go for the next cloning, and the cloning is exactly the same, no matter which style of SmartGit you're using. So it's the same for LogView and so on as well. And I can come here, and now you can see I have GitHub Home and GitHub Work in this list, which makes it super easy to get to the repos I want. We have this for Bitbucket as well and Azure DevOps. I'm going to show GitLab now also, because we should not forget GitHub, and it works basically the same. I click on generate token, GitHub is opening, GitLab is opening. Oh, and I have to sign in. Authorize SmartGit. The authorization is done. And now my SmartGit is also linked to GitLab, and I can equally see my GitLab repositories, and the cloning process is basically the same as for my GitHub repositories. So I think this is a very nice capability, and a lot of improvement went into this project to make it easier, nicer, and easier to understand where you clone from. Now, one of the things I have on my agenda is to show you what we have done for submodules. And there is a new submodule picker here that makes it super easy to switch to a different submodule. And I have to choose which GitHub account I want to use. In my case, it's work. And we now can come here and copy the path and into my favorite editor. Yes, I could configure this nicer, and I can type new headline and save the file. And now if I'm back here into the main repository using the submodule, you can see there is a submodule with local changes highlighted by the one. And if I click here, I can directly see, okay, it's submodule 2, where change happened that is not currently committed, but in my local working tree of submodule 2. So again, things to make it easier to work with these types of submodules. What is also new is I have a capability built in that I can open repository. I can directly open it in GitHub. So if I right click, okay, I'm on the wrong account now, but we can switch that. And it will directly open from SmartGit into GitHub or GitLab. So it's much easier to collaborate. And what we can do here now is we create a new issue, demo issue. And another new capability that I promised to show you is that now we have an integration with GitHub issues. There is the burger menu to the very right in the commit dialog. And if I click here and say select from GitHub, you can see it picks the demo issue directly, and I can select it, and it will be inputted into my commit messages for traceability. Very helpful feature to go along. So I'm gonna discard these changes now. Also, something that is a bit hidden, you can always start to write a commit message even if you have no local changes in your working tree. Make a plan, develop. So you can continuously work on your commit message despite there is no change available in the no change yet done to code, or in my case markdown. So it's super easy to do that. Another thing where we did improve a lot is the setup of the simplified GitHub Git flow or the simplified process that is also working very well with GitHub flow. Currently, there is nothing configured in this repo. When to start configuring, I just click the start button once. It tells me, oh, it found out main has been configured as the main branch and feature as a feature prefix. And I can click OK and start the new feature. I call the new feature mix. And so now we have a new feature branch. If I'm not happy with the prefix, there is also the option here under configure features that I can change it. If I want to go with more this GitHub flow style, that there is no prefix, I can keep this empty for now. This is fine with us, and we go like it is predefined. So now I have this mix2 feature. And again, I copy the path and we go into Visual Studio Code. And I don't know about you, but it happens to me rather frequently that I start to change stuff and stuff. And also I change things in the styling. Okay, so this is now to make the how do you call them? Yeah, to change the styling of the headlines. And now I save it and I say, oh, this is an all-in-one change. Just imagine you do refactoring and building new capability in your code. This is exactly the scenario. I choose my other email address for this. And now I can commit these changes and it's committed. But obviously during review, some of my colleagues will tell me, oh, no, Daniel, what have you done? You mixed changes in the content with the refactoring. So this is where our new rollback feature comes into the game. I can start another feature branch, which we call clean for now, or rollback. And we now have another feature branch. And this time around, we decide to do it in a more clean way, in a sustainable way. So first of all, I'm gonna change just the headings. And we say, okay, that's it. Reformatted document. And we're gonna commit. So now we only have the style change in this commit. Should I now want to bring in also the content change, I can come to the previous commit from the other feature branch and use the new rollback to command, which basically puts the changes from the other commit into my local working tree. And now we can already see in here that the change stuff is now present, the style change is present, and you can say rollback content change here. So basically what I did, I took a commit that was mixed between refactoring and real building of capability, and took it into two commits. So the reformatting and the content change are separate commits. This can be done in some scenarios using cherry picking or rebasing. We feel the rollback makes it easy for some scenarios and very low key and easy to access this type of capability. As you all know, SmartGit is perfect, or we hope to be perfect or getting better and better if you want to maintain a clean history. And this is one of the new capabilities we have to make sure you can keep a clean history. So next up, we go to Explorer, Tools, Reveal in Explorer. And something that can be really annoying in Git is if somebody fools around with the capitals in your files. So now we change the capitals to README. And we go to the local file changes. And you can see SmartGit detects such a change. There's no true rename, but case change only. And there is a new fixed case change capability. I click on here and it asks me what I want to do. Fix it in the working tree or really push this change to the repository. In most cases, people would probably want to keep it as it was in the repository. So that's what I'm gonna do now. But I think this is very helpful to keep repositories cleaner again. So this scenario is now also fixed. So I showed you quite a lot of stuff in a short time already. What is the last? Forks. Yeah. So now the next thing is what I want to do is I will clone a fork. Takes a while. I have some repos here. I clone this mtip Spark, which is a fork of an open source repo. And you can see there is an option to create the upstream remote directly, but we will keep that for now. We organize our checkouts. In this case, it's forks. At least this is how I like to do it. And now we have this fork on our computer, but we have not defined the upstream remote. And there is a very clever new capability. If I go to add, it will directly tell me which is a good upstream remote for my repository. In this case, the fork was created from OpenMBE mtip Sparks. So I'm just gonna add this one, and now we added successfully an upstream remote to our forked repository. So let's go back to the list for a second. Yeah. I missed one, which is nice. We also have a new thing in the standard window that can be helpful if I only want to see which commits happened in a specific folder, there is a new option that I can click on a folder and say log, and I will only see commits that affected this specific folder. And as you can see, it's like 5 or 6 commits that happen in this folder, and I can clearly see only one person worked in this folder so far. So this is also a nice little extension. In case you work with standard window but want to know how log window works, don't forget you have the option that you can switch directly into the log window whenever you want to. So also nice feature. Now I have standard and log window, and I can do operations in both. Typically, people prefer one or the other, but it's super easy to switch. Should you want to switch on a permanent basis, in the preferences, in user interface, you have the option to switch permanently between our 3 styles. So this was quick and fast, the things we have done to SmartGit 24.1. Thank you for your attention. If you want to give us feedback, as I said before, smartgituserecho.com or smartgit@syntevo.com. We don't have questions thus far, so nothing to answer. Should you have questions, feel free to ask them. I will stay a few minutes around. If you are leaving, happy coding and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.